Hello, this is a BritAsia Tv Academy podcast, and you're here with Gurdev.
Hello.
Shuk Yee.
Hello.
And me, Zill. And today we're going to pose the question, is a public apology enough? In this modern era, we are in cancel culture, a byproduct of social media. Public figures' statements and opinions are immortalized for which they have been scrutinized for. With the aftermath of the situation, often an apology is issued. However, is an apology enough for them to repent for their mistakes? As nowadays, perception has mattered now more than ever. So are they apologizing just to keep their image intact? Today we're going to explore some of our opinions on apologies, and I'm going to start by, just having a little general discussion on our own opinions on apology. And I'm going to start with you, Gurdev. I'm going to ask you,
Fine.
What is an apology, in our opinion?
An apology nowadays is so easily given because nowadays people find words so cheap. So I feel like apology to me, in my own eyes, my perspective, is a changed behavior, changed in your actions.
Mm-hmm.
So, like an apology can take a year because, for example, like if there's a couple and someone and one of their if someone in the couple has an affair, the only way they can apologize is show their loyalty over a longer period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, an apology is more to do with changed behavior rather than just an I'm sorry.
Right, it's a signal of changing behavior, change to come.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And Suki.
I think compensation, Gurdev has put it perfectly, that words are just useless and it needs to be backed up with change and action. A genuine promise to change. Example, if someone broke someone's leg, supposedly by accident, it's a bit extreme, but I believe to show them really sorry, they should break their own leg. And as well as give compensation to the person they broke the leg, for example, the lost wages or the cost of physiotherapy that happened because of their broken leg.
Firm believer in an eye for an eye there.
Yeah, it's a bit extreme example, but I believe
No, I like
they
it.
need to feel the
Suki's-
pain.
The pain.
Suki's
Of
on
a
some
broken
medieval.
Oh no, I appreciate that. Well, I don't feel as medieval, but I think an apology is, I personally find it quite liberating, the idea of apologizing. It feels grown up, I feel. You identify kind of faults in yourself, which I don't feel like people are willing to do in today's day and age. I like the idea.
I agree with that.
I like the idea of identifying, I messed up and I'm genuinely sorry about that, and I hope you can, accept my forgiveness. And it's a nice way of moving on, and I feel like you get a nice understanding between the person you're apologizing with. Obviously, it would be better if, this situation wasn't there to deal with, but
We make mistakes.
exactly, and it's a great way of dealing with mistakes. Mistakes are there for you to learn from.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think an apology is a great step towards that. Whether it's genuine or not is a completely different matter.
So that's the world that we live in, and
Mm-hmm.
we live in a world where people's words aren't what they used to mean. You look at social media nowadays, and you can be speaking to someone for every day, and the next day, the next week, you'll be a stranger to them. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's a very fickle climate.
Yeah, it's a very interchangeable. Everything is interchangeable nowadays. Everything is replaceable. So I feel like people's values in terms of other people has cheapened quite a lot, and that's why people's trust issues have gone up, and people trust apologies a lot less.
It's like years could just go by within just a few seconds of one mistake.
Okay, well, with that in mind, would you guys have an example of, say, your most sincere form of an apology?
I was gonna say compensation, but that's not really sincere.
It's a sincere gesture.
Yeah, it shows that they're willing to try by giving the action. I think just words by themselves is just worthless. But if they do both, they are showing that they're at least trying.
I think a willingness to accept whatever comes your way, and like whatever consequences are being put upon you because of your actions. So I don't know, like if someone's willing to, I don't know, not if someone if you hurt one of your friends and that friendship has been like cut off, you have to be willing to accept that. And you know, not be so selfish to be like, no, we're friends, and like you have to be willing to let that go and you know, accept what's going to happen with open arms. And if they're willing to like be your friend again, if they emotionally get over the situation, then you know, that's up to them. But you just have to accept what their decision is.
Yeah, for sure. No, I feel like these are situations you're describing that I personally been myself, and I'm assuming you may have.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
In those situations, and I feel like as you get older, you do learn not to hold on to these grudges, and kind
Definitely,
it's and you know, there's a lot of reasoning behind why you'd apologize, but I feel like pride is a major aspect, and accepting culpability.
Do you think what lack of pride should be there, or pride?
Yeah, I think too much pride prevents you from doing so.
Okay.
Like in that, well, from my personal situation, I feel like in the situation of friends, pride can prevent you from doing that, because you know, like, you know, for example, you know, someone's never apologized to me, so I'm not going to apologize to them. Okay, this isn't a situation with friends, but like say with family, it makes me hesitant to apologize, because as much as I am willing to change, I just feel like other people,
because they're not willing to change, you're not going to show that weakness or whatever.
I just feel like they're not entitled to it. But I suppose, you know, that's, you know, being the adult in the situation.
Definitely, yeah.
I think it can go the other way as well, that when someone apologizes too much, and it shows that they're not actually changing, it's just dishing out the words
like very true,
a band-aid. The more they say it, the less it means.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. Well, we're going to move on now to transgressions by people. And these are people, you know, public figures who've committed a transgression and have had to apologize in one way or another. And we're going to start with one that I thought was quite interesting. It was from last year. It was committed by Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
And the transgression itself took place in 2000, so over 20 years ago. He appeared in an SNL skit where he played Chris Rock in full blackface.
Damn.
And you know, the fact that it's mentioning now, nothing was said about it until it resurfaced last year, and now Fallon is very apologetic about it. He posted a whole like 8-minute video on the matter after this calls for him to quit the show, as they happen. But yeah, he said there was no excuse for his actions, and he thanked the public for holding him accountable. In 2000, he said, while on SNL, I made a terrible decision to do an impersonation of Chris Rock while in blackface. There is no excuse for this. I am very sorry for making this unquestionably offensive decision, and thank all of you for holding me accountable. So, with this incident in mind, would you say you buy into it?
I personally don't really, because there was a call to action from the public when this was brought up, which was step down from your show.
Yeah.
And as we all know, today he hasn't done that, because I feel like he's not willing to, like I was saying earlier about, you know, if you're really sorry about something, you should accept the consequences with open arms. But I feel
what consequence is enough though, you know? Like quitting is one, but would that compensate and make up for it?
I mean, it would show that he's, like I said, he's willing to accept his consequences. But it's like, you know, he's not fully sorry, he's just ashamed. Do you know what I'm saying? He's just ashamed that he got caught, rather than being fully sorry for the action itself.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's full it's not an apologetic nature. It's just shame, really.
Yeah, I think 20 years kind of hammers that point home.
Yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
it?
I think it's. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go on. No.
I think it's the context of the time. The fact that it was 20 years ago, and that might be other people was doing the same jokes and he thought it was fine at the time. And he was probably early on in his career. I don't know how old he was then or how old he is now. Someone else could have wrote the sketch and he just followed it. No one knows.
Yeah, no, that is an interesting point, you know.
But actors and performers always argue the creative of what they're going to be performing. That's nothing new.
They might have been afraid to say something and then lose their job at the time. It doesn't condone what he did, but that might be one thing to think about.
Right, so there's multiple aggressors in this situation,
Yeah.
in your opinion.
I think quitting is just the easy way round. I think he should have done something for the fact that he did blackface, for example, if he gave to charity or actually do an action to show support compared to his actions from the past.
I think, you know what, I don't think quitting would be the best way of going about it, because do you remember, Gurdev, when the whole Russell Brand and Jonathan Ross prank call went down?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and do you remember that? It's interesting how Russell Brand and Jonathan Ross had different reactions, and I didn't appreciate Russell Brand's reaction of just quitting on the spot. I saw that as kind of running away from your problems.
But I think the thing is,
I didn't buy into that apology either. Again, you said I got caught, so
Yeah.
you know I gotta. So I'm sorry. And then he quit the BBC at that point. And then he ran off to America, and I saw that as like some other next level of cowardice.
Wait, what happened to this prank?
It was an obscene prank by Russell Brand,
Yeah.
Jonathan Ross. They were on this radio show, and they called Andrew Sachs, who was this British comedian. They called was it him or his granddaughter?
I can't remember who they called.
Someone's children.
But yeah, this was live on there, and they were making obscene, childish comments, and the BBC reacted to that by firing Ross eventually, and Brand thought he could take his own initiative and quit. And yeah, I just thought it was a very cowardly act all round. I didn't buy into everyone's apologies, but there was, I guess, comeuppance in some way.
He probably saw that he was going to be next on the chopping block and he'd take some power to
Yeah,
quit
exactly.
instead.
Taking ownership.
But the difference between that situation and Jimmy Fallon is that, that's what people were calling for in order for him to, that was a consequence that people were handing to him in order to feel justified.
Yeah.
And to feel justice for the situation at hand. So it's a little bit different because that's like a corporate decision, where this one's a bit more of a public decision.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's slightly different for me anyway.
Okay. Well, just to conclude this bit, how do you guys feel about the fact that Chris Rock, the black comedian who was actually impersonated, actually wasn't offended by this at all? He defended Fallon over the comedy skit. He said he valued the intention behind the impersonation. He specifically said, "I'm friends with Jimmy. Jimmy's a great guy and he didn't mean anything. A lot of people want to say intention doesn't matter, but it does. And I don't think Jimmy Fallon intended to hurt me, and he didn't."
Did he get clearance with Chris Rock
I'm not.
before he did the sketch? We don't know if there was a conversation
not
between
sure.
the two.
Chris Rock is a comedian who appears on SNL as well. I don't know whether...
He could have asked his opinion before doing it. I don't know. That could be online somewhere, but that could be a situation to think about as well.
I don't know. I still find it a little shady that
Tasteless.
okay, think about it this way. Would he have been alright with this in 2000? Would he have thought, oh, this is funny?
I think what's going on is 3/4-fold. So I think the first one is a little bit conspiratorial, that
Oh, okay.
maybe, higher powers said to Chris Rock, you just gotta be okay with it, or gave him hush money or whatever. Like that's something of the most sinister nature, the most nefarious nature. I think the second thing is we have to remember Chris Rock is a comedian, and I think that he might not have agreed with it personally, but publicly he has to defend it because he's a man of comedy. And I feel like I think he probably thinks, in order for me to do the comedy I want to do, I have to defend someone else's comedy. Do you know what I'm saying? Because nowadays comedians are like, are the people most at risk of getting cancelled for what they say.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the ones on the front line
when
it comes to...
So I feel like he, as a comedian, he feels like I have to defend my fellow man in public. So I think that's the second thing. I think the third thing is that, like I said, they're both fellow comedians. So he might have been offended by it, but, like a family says, you don't air your dirty laundry. So he probably said, oh, I'm okay with it. And then like he probably gave him a rollicking behind closed doors. Right. Like, what the hell was that all about, or whatever? Do you know what I'm saying? He, you never know. Like back in the day, he might not have seen it, or it might have just, gone past his radar. Do you know what I'm saying? Back in the day. So that could be another thing. He could be privately angry about it, and telling Jimmy how he feels privately, but then in the public eye, you don't want to bash another comedian, because then he feels like that will affect him.
It's just interesting how obviously he never said anything either for the past 20 years, so he's specifically taking this action to defend him, which highlights all the points that you just made. Yeah. Whether it's to defend the craft or whatnot.
It could be the guilt that he doesn't want to be the one that's caused his career to be put down the shredder.
Because they said they do know each other, innit? So when they do see each other, it's like,
imagine the guilt if that happened because of that joke based on him.
Yeah, because cancelling someone a million miles away, it's no sweat off people's noses. But when it's someone that you see, once, a few times a year or something, it's a different situation then. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. There's a personal relationship.
Yeah, exactly. I like, if someone had to cancel their cousin or cancel their one of their good friends, I think people will have a lot of a harder time to do that than cancel some public figure they have no relationship with.
In a way, would you see it as though that transgressor has been forgiven then? Would you say this is like the statement that's being made here?
What, by Chris Rock?
Yeah, because, when you think about it, I mean, I know there's public outcry, but, if we think about this, just between two people, it feels like he's come across like he's absolving him.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it's a track record thing. For example, if you pile on even more things in the future, obviously that'll be a huge issue. That this would be used as an example.
Right.
Compared to if it was just a one-off thing.
Right. We're going to go on break now, but we'll go on to Boris Johnson after that. We'll be right back. And we're back with the BritAsia TV Academy podcast, where we pose the question, is a public apology enough? So now we're going to talk about a figure who's a little more widespread. Gurdev?
Someone a bit more closer to home. That's the man currently running the country, Boris Johnson. We're going to talk about something that he did a couple of years ago that actually inflamed the public quite a bit. And that's when he made the Islamophobic comments about how women who wear the burqas look like letterboxes and ninjas, which, in my opinion, is very, very ignorant on his part. He initially refused to apologize for the comments in the first place, because he thought the way that his article was reported on was out of context. However, once he did refuse to apologize for that comment, Islamophobic incidents rose 375%.
Gosh.
Which is a ridiculous number. And I think in this instance, it shows that maybe an apology could have prevented this spike in Islamophobic incidents.
Absolutely.
Zill, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, you have to bear into account he wasn't prime minister at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But with that in mind, the guy was mayor of London, foreign secretary,
Which is
ironically,
ironic, yeah.
at the time. So he does have a pull with the public. You know, he clearly is someone who's, you know, people not, I think myself included, consider quite magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
And when he says things like letterbox and refers to the Burqa people as bank robbers, it validates the racists out there. And
Sure.
I feel like this, you know, this incident that you just mentioned of, how much did you say? 375%?
Ridiculous.
It just, yeah, it is ridiculous. And it's proof that it validates them to, you know, committing this
To carry
racism.
them.
Like, it's okay for them to be like that, you know. If he took swifter action in denying it, whether he meant it or not isn't what's important here. It's about asserting that what he did was wrong.
It's about setting a tone, and
Yeah, and he didn't. He just dismissed it for nothing. And
I think the fact that he was a foreign secretary, with that authority and job title, people think it's okay, when it really isn't. I'm surprised he still had his job at that point.
I'm surprised about a lot of things.
Because he was supposed to be a role model as a foreign secretary, and then he's saying that people just thinking, oh, it's okay to attack these people. It's ridiculous.
even Theresa May came forward, and essentially his boss came forward and to say, better apologize. But he was arrogant. He stood by his word wrongly, and he refused. Even at that point,
I think that makes it so much worse.
it definitely.
Your
does.
boss is telling you, he's like, she's ordering you, right? You gotta make things right.
Yeah.
And you're like, no. That kind of insinuates that you have some more sinister undertones over this.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure, you're stubborn, but it's not that deep. But he's making it such.
I think he's trying to just assert his authority. How much do you think is it because he's a man and she's a woman?
Possibly. I mean, again, this is more speculating on his personality
Yeah.
rather than.
Do you think it could be obviously, I think what he said was wrong, and I think he should have never wrote it, and if he did, he should apologize immediately. But do you think he thinks he's holding his journalistic integrity, probably the little that he has, but do you think that if he changes his statements, you feel like he's lowering his journalistic integrity by doing that?
Possibly. I think part of the reason he might have not apologised is because then he'll be held accountable, and then action will need to be taken against him.
Yeah.
Or it's shown that action needs to be taken against him.
For sure.
So he just refused to apologise. So he's, in a way, defending his actions so he wouldn't get punished.
But then once he was Prime Minister, he did actually go on this morning, and did it actually apologise? I believe his apology was, I've already said sorry for any offence I have caused, and I'll say it again, but let me be very clear that I don't set out to cause offence in what I've written. Yeah, to me that still doesn't sound like an apology. That very much sounds like, I'm sorry if that's how you feel, and it's not really a sorry for what I've said.
It's too little too late.
On top of that, yeah, definitely.
The fact that within that time, so many people that got attacked, I think if he said it sooner, it would have nipped it in the bud a little bit, and less people would have been attacked.
Do you think it's a factor, the fact that he was Prime Minister at the time, which made him say he was
a catalyst for him to apologise to you?
Yeah, on this morning.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, he probably was trying to. It wasn't an election time, was it?
2019. Do you know when he got?
When was the election time?
Well, the re-election was in 2020, so.
Oh yeah, that's within time.
So,
trying to win.
Yeah. So it happened in December time.
When was Brexit?
Brexit was 20. What, the vote for Brexit?
Yeah.
The vote for Brexit was in 2016.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But the general election took place in early 2020.
Right.
Yeah.
So, essentially he was just campaigning, to be honest. We could make that argument.
See, it's interesting that you mentioned that, but that quote we were just mentioning from Politics Home says Mr. Johnson has repeatedly refused throughout the general election campaign to apologise for the comments which he made in a column in 2018. So, yeah, even during a campaign, it's... Again, it's all that whole subject about culpability. And he doesn't want to make himself look bad, but at the same...
All week.
Yeah, all week.
Yeah, to the people he's trying to, win votes over to.
You can't explicitly say, those kind of people
Yeah,
are appealing
yeah.
to you, but you do, implicitly want to appeal to them.
So in this instance, do you think an apology would have been enough?
I think in this situation, it would have been better. But I feel like we see clear-cut ways in how his actions had a negative effect on society. In this situation, we've only got one incident of the Islamophobic incidents arising during the time when he made the comments. So yeah, no, I'm totally of that mind that it would have been so much better. We wouldn't have seen a statistic like this, and people wouldn't have suffered because of an ignorant man's opinions. But again, it could all be very theatric. You know what Boris is like, his theatrics.
Yeah, definitely. To be honest, that goes for the majority of politicians nowadays.
Oh yeah. It's predicated on that.
I'm surprised it just came throughout his lips, because I'm pretty sure wouldn't they have someone to proofread what he's going to say in the speech before it is even spoken?
Yeah, they have publicists and a PR team. Well, the more higher profile politicians do anyway. So
I'm wondering
who's to say that this was just, like you said, like a PR cleanup, his apology in the first place.
I'm wondering if he went off script or it was actually it's still in there and it's just...
It's an article that you can...
Approved.
It's an article that you can go and read still, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Alright, we're gonna go on break now and we'll be right back. And we're back with the BritAsia Tv Academy podcast, where we're posing the question, is a public apology enough? And now we're going to touch upon transgressors more in the corporate area. So Suki, you had a very interesting one for us.
So what are your guys' thoughts on John Cena apologising to Chinese citizens for calling Taiwan a separate country? There's public outrage for this.
That was a really interesting one. I mean, my opinion on Mr. Cena is great wrestler. Are you into that back in the day?
I'd have to agree. He was the king of the mountain at one point, isn't it?
But now we see him, but in a different context.
Yeah, he's made a couple of transitions in his career.
Yeah, it's interesting the path he's went on. How transitioning from wrestling to a film star.
Yeah.
I mean, and I respect his need to kind of conserve that reputation because he, what you were saying, he said he's very sorry for saying Taiwan is a country.
It's a separate country. He even said it in an apology video in is it Weibo?
Weibo, yeah.
Weibo in a Mandarin. The apology.
Weibo is Chinese, is the most popular social media account in China, and according to this transcript I've got here of his apology, which he said in full-on Mandarin.
Oh wow!
Because he can speak Mandarin.
Yeah.
He lived there for a couple of years to learn. The apology goes as such: I made a mistake. I must say right now, it's so important. I love and respect Chinese people. He said it to 600,000 fans on his Weibo account. I'm very sorry for my mistakes. Sorry. I'm really sorry. You have to understand that I love and respect China and Chinese people. It's very pandery.
Yeah, it's just like you said. I'm sorry. It's so like, his PR team he wrote there was a bit a bit lazy, isn't it?
I don't know. I feel like this is designed to pander to a certain. I feel like because the reactions of this whole apology, I feel like were mostly positive. More than 10,000 commenters left remarks under his apology video. Some expressed their understanding, though others were unimpressed. "You are being evasive. You cannot smash Chinese pot while eat Chinese rice," wrote Mu Rao Feng in one comment. While another stated, "Please say Taiwan is part of China" in Mandarin, so Taiwan Daishi. It's just interesting like how he is kind of pandering, but it's still not enough.
What are your thoughts that he actually spent effort to speak it in Mandarin instead of English, that apology?
I think, honestly, as a performative, I think it's very interesting.
I think some people put understanding further because he actually put the effort in speaking Mandarin for the apology.
For sure.
Because not many people, like white Caucasian males, could actually speak Mandarin.
No.
I think a lot of people who don't grow up with the language at all can speak it.
It's
difficult to speak.
Hard language. You could still be like a British and Chinese national or American Chinese, and not even read or speak the language.
Definitely.
That's how hard it is.
I find it interesting how it's a personal apology, but it's also very corporate.
I was just going to say that, at the end of the day, we all have to recognise this is, a business move, and it's not, like, I'm not trying to make him sound like a heartless person or anything, but it's not coming from the bottom of his heart, I don't think. I think, it's, like I said, he did it, so they can carry on making money on the Fast and Furious 9 premiere. Like, it wasn't, it was motivated by money. It was like to put money in his pocket, to put money in the producer's pocket, to put money in his boss's pocket.
Yeah.
It was not designed to make the Chinese people feel justice.
It's very transparent, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, okay, say if I apologize to you over something in that way, would that feel patronizing?
100%.
Yeah.
It's I think it's very lackluster. There's not much effort put into it. Well, in the way that it was translated anyway. I don't know, like, when he spoke it.
It's
we're looking at
good.
it. Yeah, we're looking at words on a paper. So maybe like
His facial expression.
his facial expression, like, you put a performance into it. Like I said, I'm not trying to make him out to be a scumbag, but like the emotion that he put into it might be greater than just the words on the paper.
He probably still privately thinks that Taiwan is a separate country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to have the responsibility
Of holding that opinion.
of tanking a movie because of his one comment.
Yeah.
There's so many people behind him is involved in, they'll lose out.
That's what I feel like I kind of do understand.
Where he's coming from.
I do. I mean, I'm not dismissing the actions of the Chinese government.
I believe at least he's tried.
Yeah. It's a toning, but it's completely different. I mean, there were differing reactions between West and East over this.
Yeah. A lot of the West just think, what are you doing? You're a sellout, is that a word? The sellout.
Yeah.
On your beliefs.
So Gurdev, you had a corporate transgressor for us.
Yeah, I mean, this is a British institution, one of the British institutions.
ITV.
The BBC,
All right, yeah.
a reporter, while reporting on a stabbing incident, a white female reporter going by the name of Fiona Lambdin actually said the N-word live in her report.
In what context?
In the context of, she was quoting what someone said that as a part of the incident.
Right.
But to me, I feel like it was very, very unnecessary for her to even say the word in the first place.
Did it come across as a spur of the moment thing, or did it feel meditated, like she was going to say it?
It didn't. Yes and no. that's tricky to say. I can't really judge that, but you know, there were many ears that heard this before it went out to the public.
Right.
You know, her sound man, her cameraman, you know, the guy she was interviewing, her producer probably seen this as well before it went out to the public. And the fact that no one picked up on it is a more of an institutional problem for me.
Right.
And and this wasn't an issue until the internet personality David Whiteley, who's better known as Sideman All Day. He actually tried to hold her accountable for it. And when he initially brought it up, the BBC actually defended her.
Right.
And said, you know, she didn't necessarily say it to anyone. She was more, you know, she was just quoting someone.
I think it could have just been an innocent mistake. I think she could have just thought, oh, it's okay, because she's trying to hit home of how terrible this person was saying that. Well, was it attacking someone?
Yeah.
Attacking someone. That she wasn't saying it to a malicious intent to someone. She was just repeating what was said.
But is she entitled to say that though? I mean, I agree that there was probably no maliciousness intended behind it, but the issue is the fact that she feels entitled to say it, and you know, as a white woman, I don't
feel like she's entitled.
No, I don't feel comfortable hearing it said.
She might not have been comfortable of saying it, but someone else could have prompted her to say it, and that, oh, you have to read the script or something. We don't know. It doesn't condone it, but...
I mean, you know, the BBC is, you know, a big institution. You know, they have like, you know, many platforms where black people are, you know, front and center of their, you know, radio shows and TV shows and stuff like that. So you would think that these high people in these high positions would already have that education of, if you're not black, saying it is going to be a problem. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, they had more than 18,000 complaints after the broadcast was made. So, you know, like...
How much of the issue do you think would have been resolved if they had a black presenter instead of a white one?
I don't think the word should have been said at all. I mean, the fact that this was on the BBC, a national institution, like, do you know what I'm saying? It's honestly a strange occurrence. And like, as a result of the BBC initially defending her, you know, the internet personality who initially brought it to a lot of people's attention, he actually stepped down from his role at BBC Radio 1 Extra as a presenter, because he said that I can't be a part of a company who's going to defend this sort of action.
Oh wow. So the black man loses his job.
Yeah, a white woman says the N-word and a black man ends up losing his job because of it, which is...
For a word that she's not entitled to.
Yeah.
And they took their time react. The fact that he had to quit.
Yeah, it's madness.
Was there anything? Do you feel like anything was even resolved by this?
I mean, she's still currently hired at the BBC, so she didn't really see any consequence for that.
Doesn't come across like that.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, obviously I don't know the woman in person at all, but I kind of get the feeling that she feels like she got away with it a little bit, because, you know, she still has her job. She's still, you know, earning a living from the BBC. They ran to her defense as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, there was cornered into an apology, the BBC, and it wasn't even her herself.
Was it an actual? Did the BBC, the institution, actually apologise?
Yeah, the BBC issued.
Finally, okay.
Issued the apology.
We don't know behind the scenes that if they gave her a disciplinary warning or action.
That's the thing. I feel like you'd have to make a public. They have done this in the past. Again, I mentioned Jonathan Ross and Russell Brand earlier, they make a public show, like, you know, look, we're doing something about it. That's what corporations do, you know, they need to make examples of people. I don't feel like this lady was made an example of.
Not at all.
I feel like the wrong guy was made an example. It wasn't the intent, you know, he's the one who brought it into the forefront, you know, sacrificing his job. I mean, I admire that about him, but as far as BBC as a corporation, it just doesn't look very good, does it?
And I feel like, you know, because they're a British institution, like, you know, they are funded by taxpayers' money. There's kind of not really much the public can do to hold them accountable, do you know what I'm saying? Apart from, you know, there was 18,000 complaints, but apart from that, there's not much more reprimanding that can be done.
I think the fact that if they did end up punishing her after defending her, how would that look to the BBC as well? It looks like they're just throwing someone under the bus only after there's public outrage, when they were first defending her.
I see what you're saying, but you know, you have to hold the people accountable who did the action. Like, if I'm a kid and I do something wrong to like my neighbor or something, then my neighbor is gonna go to my parents and be like, your kid did this. But my parents are gonna be like, I'm sorry, and they're gonna make me apologize as well. They're not just gonna be the ones to apologize. They're gonna make their child apologize as well. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a similar logic to this instance.
She didn't say anything, did she?
No, she kept very, very quiet.
Maybe she thought if she stayed quiet, then it would just blow over and people forget.
I mean, it feels like that, doesn't it?
She's probably afraid that, you know, if someone says something or she says something, and then it just brings it up again as if it's new.
But this was, this was more of an error on the BBC's part, I feel. You know, at the end of the day, you know, people do make mistakes, and you know, whether that was a gap in her knowledge or a slip of the tongue or whatever, the fact that the BBC did defend her is the bigger problem to me, rather than her saying it in the first place.
Yeah, it's just all a load of events that kind of add together and reflect really badly on the BBC. I mean,
for sure.
You mentioned earlier about the fact that, you know, here she is filming this. There's a cameraman, there's a sound guy, there's a producer. Nobody anywhere had thought of flagging that up.
Some of the staff might have not thought it was their place to speak up. Like, they might have feared action to be taken against them, or like less job given to them if they speak up.
I feel like that's what always stops people, isn't it? You know.
For example, there could have been a black person that wanted to say something but just didn't because they were just afraid to.
Like I said, the fact that she said it in the first place, you know, is a problem, yes. But the larger problem is the BBC first defended her, then were happy to let someone go. Someone who, you know, is a target of this. They were happy to let him go, and she kept her job as well. So I just, you know, the fact that the BBC took very minimal accountability, and they was cornered into apology. It wasn't like, you know, they saw what they did wrong, they rectified their mistake. They was cornered into apology. So the fact that they did that was mind-boggling to me, to be honest. And I feel like their apology in this instance wasn't enough.
Yeah, totally. All right, we're going to be going on break now. We'll be right back. And we're back with the BritAsia TV podcast about whether a public apology is enough. And now I'm going to start by telling you guys about another incident that involved corporate entities. It's something the 20th Century Fox, and it's about a character you might know from a popular show called The Simpsons. And it involves Apu Nahasapima and how there was a furor over him and his casting by a white man, the actor being Hank Azaria. And there've been constant public, opinions against him for the last few years, but
it has come up multiple amount of times, hasn't it?
Yeah.
In the past few years.
I mean, he's been playing this character for up to about 30 years. But finally, he decided enough was enough, and he decided to call it quits over the role. He retired from the role of the character, specifically stating, "I was a clueless white dude," and he apologized to every Indian person for voicing Apu in The Simpsons. I just want to ask, is this enough? What he did, and does the responsibility of playing this character fall on him? Because personally, as a Brit, I don't think I felt the negative effects of this character. I can appreciate how this encouraged this idea of these negative stereotypes towards Indian people and the broader South Asian community.
Definitely.
But I'm trying to ask here is, does that responsibility fall on him, the actor, or does it go?
I think it falls on the company, because if it wasn't him, they could have just easily casted another white dude to voice Apu. So if it wasn't him, it could be just someone else. And then is it the same question, or is it the voice actor? No, I don't think so personally.
I'd have to agree with that, because looking at all these headlines, just Hank Azaria apologizes, Hank Azaria apologizes, Hank Azaria apologizes. Like, there's not one shred of accountability I can see that's been taken by Fox. At the end of the day, they're the ones. They're the ones who made this call. They're the ones who made that creative decision to greenlight this accent, to greenlight this character, to greenlight his characteristics. They could have told Hank Azaria, "Oh, just give him a regular American accent." You know what I'm saying? And that's their decision at the end of the day. And the fact that there's no public awareness that the people who should have taken responsibility are the producers of the show.
Yeah.
The people, the gatekeepers, the people, the decision makers. You know what I'm saying? They have taken not one shred of accountability for this. They've just kind of, just let him take the brunt of the outrage.
It's a little messed up, isn't it? The fact that they didn't actually mention anything at all about it. It all fell on him, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we never mentioned anything about the writers. You mentioned the producers, the executives who allowed this to happen. It's just, when you really think about it, the amount of perpetrators goes a long way. There's a long list, but annoyingly for Hank Azaria, it falls on him. I personally don't, as someone of South Asian descent, do not hold him accountable to that extent. He's an actor and he's doing a job, and like Shuk Yee said, if he didn't do it, then someone else would have had to do it.
Yeah, there would have been someone else to fill his shoes, for sure.
He's trying to take responsibility, which is something, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's a complex one because, again, I personally didn't find the character that offensive to me, but I respect that,
People who do.
Yeah, I mean, how do you say you felt about the character?
I mean, I can't lie. I was offended because, for one, he's the butt of the joke quite a lot of the time he's involved in the show. And two, it was, I don't know if this is, well, I think they knew what they was doing when they gave him the Indian accent. They made him the shopkeeper. You know what I'm saying? They was making a joke out of it. You know what I'm saying? They was subjecting people of the same descent to that ridicule. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think they knew what they was doing with that. So I did actually feel quite offended by the fact that what they did. However, I do feel like, this was made in the 80s or 90s.
It started in the 90s.
90s, yeah. So it was a different time back then.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. However, they could have developed the character, do you know what I'm saying? They could have, one day had his accent phased out or something, or just something to where, because the joke got old very quick. However, people were still making that all came from Apu, in it. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's strongly propagated.
Yeah, it accentuated it heavily. Do you know what I mean? Them jokes. So
it's a reflection on American society as well. And
yeah,
thoughts
that's
on
true.
it.
Yeah,
I feel like they're a little more
free with the.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like specific examples. Like they really like the TV shows really like to show the Indian man running the corner shop. There's always like an Indian guy. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
thing
it's
now.
true. That's true. Yeah,
There's an Indian guy running some corner shop
Mm.
in America. I mean, I was just thinking about GTA 3.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When you take a taxi every time, there's
There's an Indian man. who's
a
driving.
Sikh
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
with
yeah.
a turban with an accent.
It's true, man.
It's just, you know what? GTA 3, it's a video game that's satirical.
Yeah, yeah.
So I suppose I'm willing to give it some leeway, but still, it's there. It's like a reflection on American society. I feel like this is an American issue.
Thing. Yeah.
I think how much of it would be even more offensive if they purposely hired an Indian guy to voice on the Indian voice when they can speak clear, stereotypical American accent. How much more offensive is that compared to a white guy doing it?
Oh no, that's very grossly offensive.
That's still offensive.
No, you're talking about recasting, interestingly enough, Suki. And, there were 2 other black characters on the show who were recast. While Apu, instead of recasting him with an Indian American or a South Asian American actor, they just silently axed him.
It shows the range of his voice. It doesn't condone it, but it shows the range of his voice acting. And at the end of the day, it's just a job.
Mm-hmm.
So why is he put accountable for what he was hired to do?
Yeah, it's true. It's he's a lot of people who have spoken out about this have put a target on his back when I feel like that's the wrong place for it to be, and I feel like they should definitely take more responsibility for that.
I find the silence of the company a bit deafening as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Seeing as we're, again, I feel like this is more of a corporate issue than
yeah.
something that falls on one person.
Definitely.
Okay, we're gonna move on, beyond the corporate now to our outro, which we talk about how social media plays an important role in apologies and whatnot. Suki, you want to elaborate further?
For example, how individuals are fired from work they did in their personal time. For example, there's a woman called Justine Sacco. In 2013, she made a joke, a very tasteless joke, saying, "Going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding, I'm white." This was a Twitter joke that she only had 200 followers.
Wow.
And then she promptly, it caused her outrage when she was on the plane without knowing because she didn't have Wi-Fi, and then a day after she was fired. She was a PR. She was a corporate communications PR executive. So what are your
That's
guys'
another
thoughts?
I'm appreciating the irony in all these cases. So what are you saying, Suki?
She was fired from making that tweet, and bearing in mind her statement, she did apologise. Her statement said, "In anguish, knowing that my remarks have caused pain to so many people in South Africa, where she was born, and where her father still lives, words cannot express how sorry I am and how necessary it is for me to apologise to the people of South Africa, who I have offended due to the needless and careless tweet." She still got fired.
I love the powerful language in anguish. Like, I'm really, really sorry. I'm just like, where was this anguish when you
Made the tweet.
that tweet?
She might have thought she was just sending it to her friends because she only had 200 followers and did not realise it blew up. It still doesn't make it right, but it's...
The dangers of social media. That's the thing. Do you think people should be more willing to, self-censor?
I think this is a thing that you say. It doesn't make it right, but do you know a thing when you just not secretly, say it in person as a joke, not on social media?
I think, as you said, like nowadays, we have to self-censor ourselves. I mean, like, we have to do that anyway, but I feel like it's more stringent now, more than ever. Because
this was in 2013. So.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, that happened in 2013, I feel like it was a building block towards the cancel culture kind of presence that's here today. People are always, people are regular people thinking, oh, if I say this, I'm going to get cancelled. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's, there's such a high stake for people nowadays for what they say.
You think censorship would prevent this from happening to people's reputations being... I mean,
because like censorship, we're humans. We have to make mistakes in order to learn. And I feel like another thing is like we have to learn from other people's mistakes as well.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like you can't be that kind of... I feel like it's making us less human. Do you know what I'm saying? The more we're censored, but I feel like the reason for this censorship is because people aren't willing to apologize. People aren't willing to feel genuinely repentful. I don't know if that's the word. Repentant. There you go. Repentant for their mistakes, because it's a pride thing. So maybe sometimes censorship is needed, but because I feel like people lack that kind of genuine thing of, I feel sorry for my mistake, maybe censorship is needed. But unless people start to feel like that, then I think censorship doesn't really need to be there, because people can make their mistakes.
All right, well, okay. You're talking about pride. How do you feel about J.K. Rowling and her unapologetic tweets?
Oh, the transphobic tweets.
Yeah.
As context, that she did not apologise, and she tried to defend her comments against her push for transgender rights will ultimately endanger women's rights. That caused even more outrage. But ironically, she sold even more books.
Right. Okay.
People tried to buy, saying that they were trying to boycott her books so her publisher will stop paying her royalties. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I feel like J.K. Rowling is her own entity in it. So, like, if someone that powerful can really say what she wants. I mean, what she said was wrong, and I feel like, obviously, she is a woman, so she might genuinely feel like that. But her saying that may give a platform to transphobic people to push their agenda. So, it's a tricky one. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, like I said, she might actually feel threatened because, like, she's a woman. She might be feeling that. However, but she may not even be aware that she's giving people who actually feel hate towards transgender people a platform to ensue that hate, similar to the Boris situation.
Yeah. Do you think, though, this is dangerous to the transgender community? Because we were talking earlier about Boris enabling the far-right racists. Does a figure of her stature enable transphobic people to come out? Because I feel like it bleeds together, because, here's this esteemed author person, she's talking flack about the transgender community. And while people try to defend her, because she's so revered, is that also going to bleed into
transphobic?
Admonishing the transgender community as a result? And and I feel like is that where censorship would come in? Because, well, her Twitter's still active and whatnot, but is this something that's enticing hate? Like Trump, for example, he basically got censored, didn't he? By Twitter deleting his account. Thank God for that.
There was a woman called Julian Phillips. She supported J.K. Rowling just by putting a hashtag I stand with J.K. Rowling, but she got fired. Whereas J.K. Rowling didn't get anything like that.
Oh, okay.
So what are your thoughts about people supporting her and then getting fired from their jobs?
I mean, that is
privately.
very unjust.
Yeah. I mean, I may not agree with your opinions, but
with one hashtag, she got fired.
It's the whole, being linked to one another. You support J.K. Rowling, hence you're a transphobe.
Yeah.
It does come across.
It's guilty by association, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And does it say what job role this woman had?
She was She was sacked month by publisher after changing her Twitter handle. Let's see.
She's a children's author.
Oh, she was a
Children's
children's author. Okay, so one author makes comment and another author agrees with it, and the one who agrees with it gets the flack.
But because J.K. Rowling is a bigger
Because
author.
because J.K. Rowling's J.K. Rowling, then she can, pretty much say she has FU money to say what she wants.
Yeah.
But there was no context of why they stand with J.K. Rowling.
On the
Fired.
subject of Gillian Phillip, apparently she was first bombarded with sexualized misogynistic abuse by trans rights supporters, and then fired.
Oh wow, that is
Double whammy.
yeah.
Yeah, it's I guess it's what happens when you stand up for someone you believe in. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether it was worth it, but
It's one simple hashtag.
I know.
That's scary.
That's the thing. Like, the stakes are so high nowadays. Like, it's for just your opinion. It's people say social media and real life are separate things.
yeah,
But like, it can, like, at these instances that we're looking at, it can very well affect your real life. Like, this woman has lost her livelihood
yeah,
because of what she put on social media. Do you know what I mean? So, it's, we are, unfortunately, we are entering an age of, stringent censorship, and it's going to be very interesting to see how people navigate through that.
What do you suggest? Stay away from social media.
I mean, it's a part of life nowadays. I mean,
I personally do.
I don't want to get like too inception with it, but like this very podcast is going to go on social media
Yeah.
for people to listen to this on it. So, it's something, like I said, something we just have to kind of learn how to.
Maneuver.
Yeah, we have to learn the beast essentially. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like we're close to that with all these, these examples we've pulled up. It's, I don't know how people keep messing up. It's just so much. I feel like people are giving so much material, so much dirt on themselves. That's
true, man.
The way I see it, but that necessitates these apologies in the first place. But in JK's case, she's not even apologetic. She doubles down on it.
Yeah.
The fact that she didn't apologise for the project she was involved in, her company, Warner Brothers. Is it Warner Bros?
Warner
that had to issue a statement on her behalf, technically, as an apology, to try and save everyone else's livelihoods, in essence. So the apology was, the events in the last several weeks have firmed our resolve as a company to confront difficult societal issues. The company said in statement to Variety, Warner Bros. Position to inclusiveness is well established, and fostering a diverse and inclusive culture has never been more important to our company and to our audiences around the world. We deeply value the work of our storytellers who give so much of themselves in sharing their creations with us all. We recognize our responsibility to foster empathy and advocate understanding of all communities and all people, particularly those we work with and those we reach through our content.
Well,
Damage control.
Damage control. I don't know. That just sound that very wishy-washy.
It doesn't sound like an apology. Like,
It's more like we're nice. We're people who support trans rights, somewhat, and make no mention of J.K. Rowling.
yeah, there's no outright condemnation of what
money
J.K.
maker.
Rowling said. Yeah.
They said it was in response to the J.K. Rowling's controversial statements without actually mentioning her name in the actual statement.
But no, it's amazing. It's like a balancing act in damage control.
Not pushing her completely under the bus.
Well, no, it's not at all pushing her under the bus. It's just like, they're trying to be on the right side of history while still trying to pander to, moneymaker Rowling.
They've already spent their money making the film production and everything else.
Oh yeah, she's very involved with, future projects. This no concept. Again, it's a woman's opinions, which, she's very well entitled to. But I just feel like people can't act surprised when that reputation starts to deteriorate.
I think at what stage, it's like freedom of speech it doesn't exist. At what stage? Because you have to be so careful.
I just find it funny how she go so hard.
Yeah, it looks like she doesn't care what people think of her. As long as her voice is heard about the situation. But I think there is a way to softly, it's probably not the right wording, but to softly approach the topic. Thank you for listening to BritAsia Academy on our debate if apology is enough. Don't hesitate to comment below your thoughts. Please do stay tuned for more broadcasts or follow BritAsia Academy's socials for more content. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
See you later. Thank you for listening.